Yeah, it's dry. The last, I had to take my dog to Lethbridge for surgery. For surgery, and just for a regular appointment. Yeah. And two of the times that I went, the first time, she picked him up, which I think was on the 7th. Yeah, it was our last council meeting because I missed it. It was such a bad dust storm that they closed number 3, so I just had to stay the night in Lethbridge because when I was driving, it was I say to people, you do one wrong. Is that You're screwed.
15, John.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our regular council meeting for February 22nd, 2022. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territories and the oral practices of the Blackfoot Nation, which include the Siksika, the Kainai, and the Piikani. We also acknowledge the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. We are making this acknowledgement to demonstrate our continuing efforts to work together as we strive for reconciliation through increased and collective learning. Okay, before we get our meeting started, we have some presentations to make. I'm going to make a move. Can I do that? Because has to be on the mic here. We're making presentations to Kevin Swanson, Fire Chief, 32 years of service. Barry Yokoyama, Deputy Fire Chief, 22 years of service. And Zachary Delday, volunteer firefighter for 12 years of service. I'm just gonna, there's Kevin. Who should I start with first, Kevin? What's that?
You might have to come here.
Oh, that's fine. I don't have to be on camera
You're
there.
good.
Okay.
We've moved it.
Oh, Barry's here first. Okay, this comes from Alberta Municipal Affairs. It says, Dear Barry Roy Mitsu Yokoyama. How did I do with that?
That's awesome.
On behalf of the government of Alberta, it is my privilege to offer my congratulations and present to you the Alberta Emergency Services Medal Award in recognition of your service to Albertans. I commend you for your dedication and professionalism in carrying out your duties and your commitment to public safety, and that's James Orr, Fire Commissioner. So this is your letter and your bar here. So congratulations. Thanks for all your years of service there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. This is a pleasure here too. Dear Kevin D. Swanson, on behalf of the government of Alberta, it is my privilege to offer my congratulations and present to you the Alberta Emergency Services Medal Award in recognition of your service to Albertans. I commend you for your dedication and professionalism in carrying out your duties and your commitment to public safety. And this is 32 years. You started when you were 10? Kevin and I have known each other for a long, long time because I've been in Brooks for over 40 years, and I certainly, congratulate you on your years of service, what you've done for the fire department and what you've done to the community. So, and this is your bar here too. So, congratulations there. Yeah. Thank you very much. Me and okay, sure. Can I be back here so I'm taller?
I have to be with you.
Can I put the mask down there so you know who I am?
Yeah, take your mask off.
Yeah.
Take your mask off.
Yeah.
Oh, mask off?
Just don't breathe for 15 seconds.
Next week, COVID breaks out.
Okay, can you look at this one?
Fromage.
One more? Yeah, come on.
That's cheese in French.
Thank you.
Here.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order and just wait. Yeah, we've got, thank you very much. Okay, we got a couple of staff introductions here too. Okay, Richard Mack, you got a couple staff introductions.
Yes, thank you. So we have two today. So first one, I'll introduce Hannah Forbes. Hannah Forbes is our new recreation programmer. She started January 31st. She brings with us experience in coaching, reffing, as well as recreation experience. So she'd love to get back into recreation. And please welcome Hannah Forbes.
Thanks for joining our team there, Hannah. Okay, Richard?
And our second introduction is Cody Nichols. Cody's first day happens to be today, so he's got a big introduction today. Cody hails from Ontario. He has municipality experience from municipality of South Huron. He has operator experience, and he's also brings with us experience as a volunteer firefighter, which he'd love to bring here one day. So please welcome Cody.
Thanks for joining and coming to our fine city of Brooks, Alberta there, Cody. Thank you, and we welcome aboard here too. Okay, Richard, is that it? Thank you very much. Okay. I'd like to call this meeting to order here then, and on the agenda, any items to add or to delete from the agenda? Amanda.
Yes, through the chair to Mayor and Council, I would like to delete item 8E, which is the request for tender, City of Brooks Handybus Specialized Transit Service Unit, HB4.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Moved by Councilor Jessica that the agenda be adopted as amended with the deletion of business item 8E, request for tender, the City of Brooks Handybus Specialized Transit Service Unit, HB4, and by lettering the remaining business item as required. Any questions? All those in favor? Okay, moved by Councilor Nesbitt that the minutes from the regular council meeting held February 7th, 2022 be approved. Any questions? All those in favor? Now, I'm looking for Staff Sergeant Yetman, but I don't, is he out there? We're just gonna maybe delay that one too, and the other one, I'm looking for Chase Irwin. Is he out there? Neither are out there, so, okay, we'll just sort of skip on that. So, okay, moved by Councilor Idris that the following items of correspondence be received: the update on council conferences or workshops, council committee reports, and accounts payable listing and council committee. And we'll start with the council conferences, and we'll start to the right this time, Councilor Idris. This is for conferences and not your committee reports.
Thank you. I just want to update the council that I actually attended a conference a couple of days ago. I had a conversation with Mayor Petrie, and we thought it would be a good idea to bring it to as an update. I attended the Premier Summit on Fairness for Newcomer. It's a conference that has been planned and postponed a couple of times, and it addresses a number of different areas. One area is the foreign trained credentials and recognitions in the Fairness Office and some work around that. There are some good work, and actually there is good cabinet attendance at the conference to show that they are really behind it. I think there was half of the cabinet were there in terms of attendance, so that shows something. What I thought will be important for us to know is actually there was a new introduction or reintroduction of the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program, now called the Alberta Advantage Immigration Program, which is a program that communities can use to bring new immigrants to the community. And there are actually about 8 different streams, but 2 of those streams are very important for us to know about and look into, which is the rural renewal stream and the rural entrepreneur stream. So one covers workers and one covers entrepreneurs and people who would like to invest in different communities. For example, if there are businesses that are closing and someone is looking for investment and things like that. Both those streams require communities to actually apply to the province to be considered or designated as a community that can do it. And actually something I would like to suggest is that through our economic development, look into applying to these 2 programs. So if staff can look into it and bring it back at the next council meeting, because we do need to have council support through a motion to be a designated community that can attract newcomers. Thank you.
Okay, and I know Brooks got high praise at that conference there, yeah, for you know, what we do with the immigrant population in this community there too. And I did pass that information along to Richard Mack, and if you want to give that to Lisa there too, I'd appreciate it. I didn't include her in that email there, but there's some good information that I had forwarded, and we'll come back to council committee, and then I think it's a good project, but I think all council should have a good look at it.
So the main office that needs to be part of this economic development, they need to submit the application. The application needs to come from the economic development arm of the municipality.
Okay, perfect, okay. Councilor Nesbitt, any conferences?
I have not been at any conferences.
Okay. Councilor Prentice? Councilor Goodenough? Councilor Waldrop? Councilor Jessica?
No conferences, I was at the Energy Futures Roadshow. I attended a couple of their meetings, and what they're looking at is alternative directions for the community to move in the future so far as sustainability. And they're having a two-day workshop next week. So discussions included things like potential for geothermal, hydrogen fuel, solar, wind, everything else for the area, and the directions for the community, what people would see and benefit from moving in those directions.
Okay, good, thank you, yeah. I attended the conference Exploring Barriers to Mental Wellness for Newcomers, and I'm just going to quickly just summarize some of the things that I got out of that, and maybe Councilor Idris, who also attended that, maybe can add to it if he would like there too. It says for those newcomers that have a stronger sense of community, they do better. Women have more difficulty than men with mental wellness. Children face language barriers to connect with peers. Older family members are looking after their family and they don't get out, which doesn't help matters. Mental health is a stigma among a lot of immigrants. And ironically, when I heard that, I don't think that fits everyone. We still have that stigma about mental health. Cost to see a counselor is a barrier, more difficult to get trained professionals in rural areas. There's a project running at the Composite High School that is a research project looking at the impact of COVID-19 on immigrant students, and the research is being conducted through the University of Calgary. And it's kind of a pilot project that they hope will kind of go across Canada on that one there too. One of the conclusions, local community organizations, what they should do is address issues of ethno-cultural diversity and discrimination to improve the mental health of immigrants by fostering community belongings, supporting programs in immigrant service agencies and religious institutions to increase social participation and engagement would also help strengthen community belonging and improve immigrant mental health. And finally, one of the quantitative findings indicate that migrants to Canada do not have worse mental health in general. However, there is a trend towards decline in immigrants' health after living in Canada for more than 10 years, which kind of surprised me on that. They suggest that the provision of the community-based, culturally and linguistically appropriate mental health services will serve to improve the mental health of immigrants. So it was a very good conference on dealing with the mental health of newcomers there. If you want to add anything, Councillor Idris?
I actually do. Mental health is a serious issue. Newcomers, especially those who come from refugee background and people who have seen terrible things in their life, do suffer from it. And it has some very, very tragic impacts. I want to bring what happened in Calgary a couple days ago. Someone who was a child soldier from South Sudan was killed in a shooting. And I'm not going through, is it right, wrong, or any of that. But basically, that person really needed help and couldn't get that help, which ended his life at the end. So we really need to focus on that and do something about it as a community, as a country, as a nation, because these are people who are in a very difficult place, and if we can't stand with them, what does that say about us as a nation? Another thing I want to actually, although it's very opposite, I want to talk about is the resiliency of newcomers at that conference specifically. We heard from a panel of men and a panel of women. Some of them have done amazing things and have contributed to our country and our community significantly. We heard from a refugee who is now an author. We heard from someone who is helping the community welcome newcomers and get them integrated. We help from someone who is part of our school system here in the community. So newcomers do contribute and do have a resiliency that we should be proud of. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Yeah. Okay, to council committee reports, and we'll start off with Councillor Nesbitt.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll start off with Newell Regional Services Corporation has a new announcement, and I'd like to announce that Cole Steinley, the operations manager, has taken the position of general manager effective April 1st, and the previous manager, Brian Rolig, has accepted the administrative supervisor spot, which will be a part-time position now. Brian has agreed to stay with his new title and will ensure Cole will have all the help he needs to fulfill his new position. The board felt this transition will work out smoothly because of the great working environment at Newell Regional Services. And as always, we enjoy the best potable water in Alberta. And did I mention the floor is so clean at the water plant you could eat off the floor, and that's a fact. It is so clean out there. And my library board, board trustee job and position description policy was circulated last meeting to help us install values towards our board members. I'm happy to say that I passed the test when I evaluated the questions. My wife, on the other hand, failed me for not paying attention. The board has analyzed the issue for free memberships, and it was decided that it's not a good idea at this time, but that's not to say that it's a dead issue. COVID rules have been a high priority, and we are evaluated on a continuing basis. Our ambition is to keep employees and customers healthy in a very safe environment. And the Shortgrass Library Board, we are a municipally based service governed by independent boards. We put an emphasis on local needs and local autonomy. We are supported by regional and provincial collaboration. The office is in Medicine Hat, but we've been using Zoom for the past 2 years. The Rural Library Board system is governance, shape service through budget, policy, and planning. We secure funding and ensure financial accountability, and there are 7 library systems in Alberta. Each system provides services to its members according to their system agreement. Services vary, but typically include centralized purchasing, cataloging, etc., collections and other resources such as resource kits. We include IT infrastructure and support, training, and consultation. We are a key partner in the Provincial Library, Public Library Network. Our library system board is made up of representation appointed by member jurisdictions. My job is to advocate for the work of the system, ask questions, get involved, and contribute my skills by participating in development opportunities and explore what libraries can do. Just some food for thought. Did you know that there are still adults that don't know how to use a dictionary in Alberta? And I'm not talking about newcomers. I'm talking about people that went through the system that still do not know how to use a dictionary. And my Recreation and Parks Board. I'm sad to say that only 4 people showed up for the Winter Walk Day. I intended to go, but couldn't find someone to walk with. It's a good promotion and a great cause to stay healthy next year, right, everybody? 4 people, that's pretty sad. We're investigating the possibility of hosting the Alberta 55+ Summer Games in 2023. That's exciting. More information will be forthcoming because we got a letter asking us, but it didn't have any information with that. The rate and fees will be done by the end of the month, and the indoor committee will evaluate the figures. Hopefully it'll be low. Family Day, which was yesterday, as well as was well attended for a free swim. An outdoor movie is planned at the Duke of Sutherland for Canada Day. Hope everybody can go with their kids. We're in step 1 at this time, which means it's 50% capacity in the CRA and field house, and 333 people at one time in the Sparrow Arena. Staff are working on new reporting templated for staff to report facility usage and program registrations. It'll be used to look at facility usage, program attendance, and where staff can focus to increase usage and registration. Unfortunately, the Red Cross will no longer be offering an aquatics program effective December 31st of this year. They're now focusing on disasters, mental health, and pandemic response. The city is continuing to work on the ferry trail through Evergreen Park. The purpose of the trail is to bring awareness of the importance to take care of our environment. And the BMX Park is continuing to look for a location and build up their membership. Meadow Park and finally Meadowbrook Park is getting a new saucer swing set, And Parks is looking at getting a water station on the trails now for people that have to stop and have a drink of water on their long walk. And I would like to also say that if anybody has an idea where we could put that BMX park that'd be accessible for all the kids, like the rodeo ground was once thought of hosting that area, but it's quite far. So we're still looking for ideas. It's a great idea for kids. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Thank you, Councilor Nesbitt.
Joel, you want to ask me a question? Okay.
Okay. Okay, Councilor Jessica with your committee reports.
Thanks, Your Honor. So Brooks and District Museum met on January 11th and February 1st. They've seen a great reduction in operating costs through the pandemic and a high occupancy in the campground, which is substantially added to the reserves, so financially they're healthy. They received $17,218 from their June casino. The Christmas light display, if hopefully everybody had a chance to look at it, raised $4,900, and they're hoping to repeat it and expand it next year, and thanks to Alan Lutz for all his work on that project. They are holding a 50-50 draw to raise funds to restore the Corythosaurus statue in front of the museum. And due to staffing issues and things, they're looking at cutting back or eliminating the Canada Day celebration, specifically the pancake breakfast. So they're looking for alternatives, or I know council has always participated in that particular project. So if there is a desire to keep it going, and if it's feasible to keep it going under the current situation, they would need some assistance in that direction. And they are updating the strategic plan, and it'll be coming back to the city for any input. Communities in Bloom, February 3rd. So the main issues and concerns were raised here in front of council by the delegation on the 15th council meeting, our committee meeting. And it included the potential for regionalizing the attractions as part of the program to bring in some new ideas. And also there was discussion of the relationship with the city in terms of reference, and they're currently looking at that. Eco Brooks met on January 18th. Membership was down, but they were successful in recruiting 3 new members. And their current projects have included scholarships, anti-idling signs, community garden signage, Trash Tuesday online anti-litter campaign, and a mask flag campaign to promote proper mask disposal. Also, it was brought up about a company called Blue Planet that provides curbside collection of recyclables and organics, and it was suggested that it might be investigated for the city of Brooks. Now, the change in members over the years had led to a disconnect with what in 2018 was a very ambitious strategic plan. So it was decided that we should bring the Eco Brooks up to speed on where they were headed in the past and where they should be headed in the future. So we did have a workshop, a strategic planning session on the 8th, and we were greatly assisted by 2 of the older-term members, young older-term members, Rudy Esau and Lisa Tiffin, who were there when the earlier 2018 plan was developed. And so that was greatly helpful for providing some background and explanations. And we went through the strategic plan step by step. It is very ambitious and covers many, many angles. And we identified it and added future priorities and eliminated completed and no longer relevant items. So that was very useful. And one of the comments that was made was that the city bylaw creating Eco Brooks was rather vague on its mandate. So that was something that might need some looking at as well. Now, out of that earlier meeting, 2 of the committee members, Doug Shanks from Newell Recycling, and I met with 3 representatives from Blue Planet. And they provide waste and or recyclables collection for a number of smaller communities in southern Alberta. So this goes just from just straight garbage or straight mixed recyclables or straight compost collection all the way to a combination of 2 or 3 of the above. And so discussion of things like plastics. So they do take plastics, and they will go to Cascade in Calgary for actual recycling for $150 a ton on top of the collection cost, for example. And Lafarge at Exshaw, they'll take mixed plastics for $100 a ton, and they use them for fuel. the concrete plant there. So these are some of the things that could be done if we did expand our collection into more mixed plastics. Organics go to Strickland Farms and Penhold. So essentially, they would be taking things from here and distributing them around the province. So you'd be looking at the cost of the collection and the transfer and whatever disposal costs there were. So they were asked to provide some per capita costs for organics and recyclables. And there had been some discussion in the past regarding Newell Recycling setting up to sort mixed recyclables. And there was a plan developed to put in some equipment for a sorting line. And some costs were obtained at the time for the equipment to do that. So if the desire for this, they're already doing your yard waste and already doing some plastics and cardboard and paper and newsprint. So if there was a desire to consider going into mixed recyclables, that would certainly be an option and would eliminate the transfer of all these mixed materials to the city and elsewhere. Southern Alberta Energy from Waste Association. So there was a meeting in January. Most of the annual membership fees have been received, but it doesn't operate on membership fees. They're minimal. It essentially has operated on grants. And so far, the project has been taken up about $2.5 million. And it's at the point of finding someone to finance, design, build, and operate a waste energy plant for a regional plant for Southern Alberta. And they did get 3 serious proposals. And we're talking about a $450 or $500 million project if it were to proceed. Now, after paying the engineers HDR for that step, which was 50-some thousand, there were insufficient funds to cover the cost of the assessment of these 3 proposals. Now, up to 10 were budgeted for by HDR, so they figured for just over 70,000, they could look at 10 proposals. Now, there were only 3, so we thought, well, that should substantially reduce the cost. But apparently, that's not how engineering works. Yes. So they still want the $70,000 range to do the job. So the shortfall at this time is about $21,000. A director actually donated $10,000 towards the project. And, but to proceed would risk making SAWA ineligible for some grants they've applied for that would carry them past this point, so federally and provincially. So it was decided to hold off on risking everything by having a short-term solution. So we met again on February 10th, or I met with the county council to explain to them, since there was such a changeover, what SAWA was all about. And we talked about the current financial position and the need for funds for the assessment of expressions of interest for the project to proceed, short-term and long-term. And the decision was explained to them to wait for the provincial and federal grant application results because it appeared there would be a good chance that they would make up the shortfall if it came down to it. But again, that's not the direction we want to move at this time. Now, since then, we did have one more meeting, and on the 11th, and we did talk about my meeting with the county and the status of the grant applications. Now, the federal application was rejected. The decision on the provincial one is expected in March, and that was about $200,000. So if we get it, then we'll be in good shape to move forward. And if we don't get it, then the county might consider providing the shortfall, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Just, well, I got a couple questions, but let's just start with that one there. So we need the 21,000, or you need, say one needs the 21,000 in order to assess the 3 candidates.
Yes.
For the project there. So we're waiting for a grant on that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, because really we can't go anywhere unless we sort of, yeah.
We could squeeze out enough probably to do the assessment,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then you don't have enough money for staff or any further activities. So,
Yeah.
so hopefully we'll get that grant.
Yeah, it's one of those projects that I know the community and yourself have put a lot of work into that over the years there. It'd be kind of nice if something happened with that.
Well, one of the things I distributed was, and I think the City Council has seen it again, was an assessment of the economic benefits to the
Yeah,
community
yeah,
that
yeah.
hosts it. There were 10 proposals for this project, And some places like around Calgary or Vancouver in Eastern Canada, you need a court order to get it actually cited. And here we had communities fighting for it.
Yeah.
And so we were lucky to be chosen, barely.
I think with Eco Brooks, you talked about litter there, because, you know, that's a beef of mine in the community there, and that crosses a few sections there. How are they talking about that, or what are they talking about to solve, you know, and I know in Uplands there by, there's an alley by Walmart there, it just piles up and piles up all the time. So have they talked any more about that, or how we address that, especially coming into the spring there? And I certainly agree with the masks, whatever. I take a walk there and, you know, those masks are littered everywhere, you know, and it's almost, I'm almost afraid to pick it up, whatever, but some people are, whatever, but those are some key issues there.
Well, waste management was certainly part of the strategic plan. It didn't get, that I recall, down to anything that specific. You know, myself, I don't see that I see that there's some new litter bins around the city, but those have been replacing older bins. Some places that it would be nice to see one would be on the route between the downtown 7-Eleven and the schools, because you get a lot of student traffic going through there. And now, having them there and getting them to use them are two different matters. But if they're not there, then there definitely is nothing for them to use. So that's might be one solution. Other than that, I think you'd have to possibly do a bit of a promotional campaign against litter, and then also have bylaw out there and hand out some tickets.
The last thing too, the Canada Day, I know we haven't run the Canada Day activities for the last 2 years at the museum there, but that's always been a nice function, you know, for the community there. Like, I mean, and maybe Councillor Goodenough could remember that. They used to get between 3,000 and 5,000. Then it would lead into the city activities at the Duke of Sutherland Park. It was just one festive day there. So it'd be kind of a shame if for some reason, you know, that didn't happen there. So I don't know, you know, like if they're not, and the museum, it's a good way to promote the museum there too, is I don't know if there's a way to sort of continue it. And I know there might be some in the museum that might not want it, but is there another way maybe the community or somebody else in the community can pick it up?
Well, there was talk of doing something, and they did apply for a $2,000 grant to buy cakes, like as they have done in the past. So assuming that the guidelines would allow it, they are open to doing something, but without some additional system, not anything as labor intensive as the pancake breakfast.
Yeah.
But if someone wants to step forward, then that's not off the table.
Yeah, okay, Councillor, yeah, thank you, Councillor Jessica there. Okay, Councillor Wardrop.
Thanks. Okay, so first for the Newell 911 board, these two items were mentioned between, I think, us during the budget, but the dispatch fees were reduced significantly from $2.39 to $1.40, and that is remaining until 2025. And the Alberta First Responder Radio communication system will be fully transitioned this year. The big highlight here is that Next Generation 911 is coming very soon to our community. So that will be a total replacement of the last 30 years of the 911 system. And it's really exciting. So that this will give first responders better location accuracy, better connectivity, greater situational awareness. And this is the big thing. It will be able to connect with 911 via text messages, videos, pictures, as well as voice and audio connections. And the timeline is moving quickly, so the deadlines that were given by the CRTC were by March 1st, 2022, so this March. Telephone providers, TELUS and Bell, must have this new generation 911 live with for voice calls, so that they'll be able to transition over to the new system. And then by March 31st, 2024, that will be the national launch of the text messaging part of the system. And then 2025 March, fully transition to this new generation 911. And then there will be no more of the old legacy 911 networks. And even more exciting, our dispatch service center, which is Red Deer Emergency Services, has said that they will be prepared to deliver the new generation 911 services before these CRTC deadlines. And that's that for Newell 911. For the Newell Foundation, can continue to receive funding from provincial government for COVID-related expenses. There's been a new financial manager hired and a new manager for the Pioneer Villas. The board did discuss the Bazzano project and is now again, we're unable to move forward with that. The board has expressed regret and frustration not being able to move forward with this project at this time, but we are waiting to hear on a decision from AHS on the future of the Bazzano Hospital before any further investments are made into that project. The ASHA convention coming up this April, hopefully we'll be sending a board member or two to that. That will happen in Calgary. Our facilities continue to see significant vacancies at this time, and so there are a couple actions that are being taken to try to improve that situation. So there's a visitation system at the New Brick Lodge where people can stay and visit, or you can stay and try it out, take part in the activities, have the meals, and often people decide to stay after those visitations, so that's good. And being a little bit more flexible on age, as you know, if it's able to work. Also, a letter was sent to Minister Pon and MLA Michaela Frey about the concerns of red tape due to the capital improvement process, and so we're hoping to hear back from them on that. That way, the Newell Foundation can more financially, efficiently renovate and hire local contractors to do the work here more expediently as well. I think that's it for the Newell Foundation. The Parks and Rec Board, I think Councillor Nesbitt got it covered. Did you mention the rug applications though? So I guess a couple things then. The Recreation User Group grant applications are currently being collected. The intake period closes on Friday the 28th, and the board will be meeting in early March to review applications and award the funds there. The board has also agreed on a framework to oversee the 10-year master plan that started this year, and we'll continue to review that. One more thing that I don't think was mentioned was the pool supervisor positions continue to be understaffed at the leisure center, which you may have noticed. Working on a recruitment strategy. So the board is on top of that, and so are our great management at the JBS Leisure Center there. And for FCSS now, the Citizen and Junior Citizen of the Year nominations are now out. The deadline is March 10th. The selection of recipients will be completed by mid-March. Unfortunately, the gala plan for April will be canceled again this year, hopefully for the last time. At the next gala, past recipients will be honored. Hopefully you've heard the news of the Quality of Life Survey going out. It's going very well. As of the last board meeting, there were 1,013 surveys returned, and so those are good numbers. Continuing to really promote that Quality of Life Survey. Hopefully we get even more responses. And the information from this survey is well used. FCSS uses it to promote the region, uses it for applying for grants, decision-making, and strategic planning for the area, and secondary research. And I think that's about it. I guess one more thing, the Community Response Committee continues to act as a liaison for a wide variety of service providers here, especially during this pandemic, across all different sectors, sending out information and working with other partners there. I think that's all I have.
Okay.
kind of sad, with FCSS, nice to see them do Junior Citizen of the Year, but it's unfortunate they can't do the gala. That's sort of the fun part of it, yeah.
Yeah, and, but yeah, as soon as we're able to do the gala in person, all the past recipients will be invited and will be honored there in person as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Wardrop. Okay, I got a couple committees. I'm on the new wellness committee. They're looking at a trail map for the city trails. They had looked at water refill stations around the community parks too. I know Councillor Nesbitt had talked about that there too, but they were saying that's kind of a challenge to get those water refill stations. The Southern Alberta Summer Games won't occur this year, but Brooks is looking at hosting a street hockey tournament July 15th and 16th. And March is Nutrition Month, and the group is looking at doing videos with the Brooks Bandits discussing nutrition and talking about what they do, on game days and, after game days there. On my Arts, Culture, Heritage Board, we're working on the criteria to apply for funding for the arts, culture, and heritage programs in the Brooks region. It will come back to committee this week, and then it will go to administration after that. The plan is that hopefully everything's in place where the public can start to apply for those grants in May, with projects going ahead sometime this summer here. For Mid-City Mayors, they're working with the provincial government on EMS, ambulance issues, and the provincial government is addressing those, or they're working on that anyway. And also the Mid-City Mayors is continuing to lobby the federal government on getting the retro pay for police services, and that bill will come in higher than anticipated on that one there too. And other councillors have talked about the other committees I'm on, Joint Services and Newell Housing. So, any questions? Perfect. Okay, to the motion. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Goodenough that March 15th, 2022 be hereby proclaimed as City Resiliency Day in the city of Brooks.
Through the chair to Mayor and Council, an email was received on February 15th to Mayor and Council from Innovations Wellness Mentor Tracy Materi regarding Brooks Resiliency Day. Brooks Resiliency Day was proposed by the Brooks and District Resiliency Committee, otherwise known as the committee, who created and maintained the Resiliency Mentor-Mentee postcard initiative for over 20 years. Annually, this day is proclaimed as Brooks Resiliency Day in the city of Brooks. All grade 5 and 8 students in schools within the Brooks region receive a presentation about what resilience means and how having an adult mentor in the student's life helps grow and sustain resiliency. The student chooses a mentor they would like to acknowledge and then writes a special message to that mentor on a postcard about how the mentor has contributed, supported, and empowered the student. The intent is for that student to then give the mentor the postcard. The committee selects approximately 60 of the 750 cards that are written on each year. A variety of situations, mentors, age, gender of students, and various schools are chosen. A special celebration is hosted in the month of March of each year, where 30 students, their families, and the mentor and their families attend, and each student reads the mentor the message of recognition and gratitude, with the mentor responding spontaneously. The other 30 students will then read and record their messages to their mentors, which is then recorded and broadcasted on Boom 101.1 and Real Country 105.7 radio stations throughout the months of March and April. In your package, you would notice that the recommendation is for the date of March 8th. However, they have actually changed that date to March the 15th. So the Resiliency Committee is grateful to Mayor and Council for their support and willingness to promote this important initiative in the past, and therefore the committee is requesting continued support by proclaiming March 15th as Brooks Resiliency Day for the year 2022, and that a banner be hung in front of City Hall from March 7th to the 21st, promoting Brooks Resiliency Day and the impact mentors can have on students within our communities.
Okay, any questions? They used to always do a big banquet, and probably because of COVID, they probably don't have one, or a formal, but I've been to a few of those, and they're very emotional and very heartfelt. So hopefully when they get them back again, whatever, it's just interesting to hear the stories about the mentors and the people involved in that, whatever. So, yeah, okay, to the motion. All those in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Idris that council approve the council chambers video projection upgrade project to the amount of $28,000 to be funded from the council project reserves. Bruce.
Through the chair to mayor and council, staff recently investigated upgrading the video projection system within council chambers to accommodate viewing angles not only from the council bench but from the gallery and the presenters table as well. To meet these new requirements, staff is recommending replacing the existing projector and screen, as well as adding additional projector and screen to the back wall of council chambers. Staff is estimating that the project cost is going to be approximately $28,000. At the end of 2021, there was approximately $108,321 in the council project reserve before any surplus transfer, with $58,400 earmarked for projects to be carried forward into 2022, leaving approximately $50,000 in uncommitted funds. Staff is therefore recommending to council to approve the council video projection upgrade project in the amount of $28,000 to be funded from the council project reserves. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Councillor Jessica.
So you're talking about replacing the existing system with the
Yes.
new system? So it wouldn't work to just do the same thing on that side like we've got on this side, or retain the system, or, and I guess would we wind up with as big a projection screen or image?
We would end up with a larger projected screen for both projectors. The problem now is because the age of the projector that we currently have is over 7 years old. The two new projectors should be the same in order for us to transfer video images between the both of them without having to add additional equipment in order to scale the image to accommodate the new 10 by like a 1080 or 1920 by 1080 resolution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Councillor Idris?
So there will be something for the gallery somewhere here and something.
So the existing screen, although much larger, would be on this wall here. And then we would also put another projector and screen for on this back wall over here.
Okay, Councillor Goodenough.
Just a comment. My neck thanks you. Yeah.
I'm sure the safety department is also pleased
Yes,
to know that
yeah, thank you.
your neck is in well shape.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I was going to mention that, yeah. Councillor Goodenough and Wardrop won't have those sore necks anymore there, okay. Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you, Bruce. Okay, moved by Councillor Jessica that council support an application to the Active Transportation Fund for the Kinbrook Connection Pathway in the amount of $750,000. Lisa.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council, fundraising efforts continue for the Kinbrook Connection Pathway, and staff has been busy pounding the pavement looking for private donations, approaching businesses and corporations, doing some presentations at service clubs, and also applying for grants. A new grant project or program called the Active Transportation Fund has recently been released. It's through Infrastructure Canada, and the parameters fit very nicely with our project. The Active Transportation Fund has both a planning and a capital stream to provide funding for pathways, bike lanes, trails, and pedestrian bridges. And municipalities are eligible for both streams of the fund. But they require a letter of support from our project partners and a motion from council. Staff will be applying for $750,000 from the fund, and it would be a significant portion of our overall $2.9 million budget. I've also included a copy of our sponsorship materials within your package, just in case anyone's interested or would be interested in becoming a donor. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions? Oh, go ahead, Councillor Goodenough.
Sorry, is this a federal or provincial?
Through the chair to Councillor Goodenough, this grant in particular is federal through Infrastructure Canada.
Okay, thank you.
When will you know about the grant? Like, when's the deadline? When would you find out if we get it or not?
The deadline application is the end of March, but I'm not sure what the response timeline will be like. The County of Newell has already applied for a separate Infrastructure Canada grant in the amount of $750,000 for the project, but we haven't heard back from that one yet either, so.
Okay, good, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Prentice?
So the $750,000 grant, would that be equal to a third of what you're short of money right now? Or a little less?
Through the chair to Councillor Prentice, it would actually, currently we've secured $1.9 million through the city's contribution, the county's contribution, and then the county has committed to fully fund the initial 2 kilometers in the amount of just over $500,000. So between this application and the other Infrastructure Canada application that the county has applied for, we would be, if we were successful in both, we would actually be over our total project budget. We're hoping to get both, but we're not banking on it, so we're applying for both.
Councillor
And
Drew?
I should also point out that we've, since we started our fundraising efforts within the community, we've raised just over $50,000 as well from separate donations. Not all of them have been publicly announced, but they've all been committed, so.
Okay. Councillor Idris?
So what would you do with the money if you are over?
Through the chair to Councillor Idris, it would be a really great problem to have. I think at that point we would take it back to a Joint Services Committee and see if there would be a desire to either reduce the city and the county's original commitment of $700,000 each, or if it would be good timing while we already have a contractor hired and mobilization fees paid to perhaps expand the pathway that we have planned, either possibly to the Aqueduct or to Lake Nor Resort. Both of those locations have been discussed in the past. So it would, like I said, it would be a really good problem to have.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Council Nesbitt that the February 2022 financial variance report be accepted as information. Shelley?
Thank you, through the chair to Mayor and Council. So the report attached finds the city approximately 11.5% of the way through the 2022 year already. And attached, the variances compare our actual year dates cost to the 2022 budget. At this time, most of the variances are timing differences because with our revenues and expenditures, just because we're so early in the year. So the only significant variance that's noted in the report is a favorable variance in the revenue recorded for business licenses. So in 2021, we reduced this amount in our budget, and it was decided not to charge this fee to businesses within city boundaries. The city has proactively billed the out-of-town customers in 2022, and as a result, revenues are substantially higher than anticipated by approximately $30,000. I just wanted to mention an impact to our budget, although it's not reflected at all in this report. But in the 2022 budget, we did assume that the City of Brooks's population would exceed 15,000 once the result of the federal census were published. This did not occur. As a result, the city anticipates our contracted RCMP costs to be considerably lower than what we had in the budget. There will still be an increase in costs from the 2021 contract due to the negotiated salaries and benefits. However, not to the extent that we will need to be phasing in that increase using our city's reserves as we did in the budget. So this change in assumption will give the city opportunity to maintain their reserve balances and proactively plan the property tax increase that will likely happen in 5 years from now when the population does exceed 15,000. I should note that we have received some information indicating that the retro pay and salary adjustments, as Mayor Petrie mentioned, will be quite a bit higher than was originally estimated in the budget. We did use the information we had at the time, but now we're being told that it will be higher than what was estimated. So we are expecting to find out what our numbers will be in the coming weeks. And at that point, staff will put together a new funding approach depending on the impact. So we can look to see what will be required in the upcoming budget. And that should be done prior, it will be done prior to levying the property taxes. So in regards to capital projects, there's no variances to report at this time. This report does reflect the carry forward of remaining 2021 capital budgets for projects that were not completed at the end of the year. So that's added to the budget, to the 2022 budgets in the report. And therefore, administration recommends that this report be accepted as information.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Wardrop.
Thanks. The options that administration will put together because of what I'm trying to say, with the RCMP costs not being as high as they were going to be, which is a great problem to have for us, will one of the options include a walk back in the property tax increases?
So through the chair to Councillor Wardrop, that could be a possibility. It has to be kept in mind that the total increase wasn't put into the 2022 budget. We only increased it by 2.1% and used our reserves to supplement the rest of the increase. And then we put in further increases in 23 and 24. So we will require some of that, likely require some of that tax increase to absorb the increase in the contract due to salary changes. And we will also present some phase-in options for the next 5 years as well, so there won't be as much as an impact. But we will try to reduce that 2.1% increase that we initiated. However, it's likelier that the increases in future years will be less because we did it over 3 years, and the whole increase was 2.1% in 2022, 2.1% in 2023, and then I believe just over 2% in 2024. So those increases likely won't be required, but I'm not sure how 2022 will look. It all depends on what these numbers come in as for sure. But we will have some options that we'll bring to council for sure.
Any other questions? You have another question?
Nope.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. To the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councillor Prentice that the 2022 fleet vehicle purchase be deferred to 2023 and purchased in conjunction with the 2023 fleet vehicles. Don.
Thank you. Through the chair to mayor and council. Each year, the city purchases 2 new fleet vehicles to add to the city's fleet. These trucks normally consist of half-ton pickup trucks. They're purchased and placed into different departments each year. Budgeted this year was 1 truck in recreation department, the other for bylaw enforcement. The budget was $38,000 each. Staff received 3 quotes from 3 local suppliers. All were within $2,000 of each other. The lowest quote of the 3 was $7,327 over budget. The bylaw enforcement truck would be an additional $3,000 due to the installation of required equipment necessary for a bylaw truck. The fleet vehicles are funded 50% from the vehicle equipment replacement reserve and the remaining from the operating budget. There is room in the vehicle equipment replacement reserve to cover 50% of the overage. The remaining overage of $5,163 for the bylaw enforcement truck and $3,600 for the recreation truck is not available in the operating budget. The supplier that submitted the lowest quote was unable to provide a date of delivery. Of the other 2 suppliers, one could provide the truck this year and the other could not guarantee the cost or submit an order for a truck. Staff also noticed that the incentives were less than usual. Given the quotes are over budget, lack of incentives, uncertain delivery dates, and that the city can get by 1 year without receiving the trucks in 2022, staff recommends deferring the purchase of these trucks to 2023. This would allow staff to budget for these increased costs. Therefore, staff's recommending that the 2022 fleet vehicle purchases be deferred to 2023 and be purchased in conjunction with the 2023 fleet vehicles.
Okay, any questions? I think a prudent and smart decision. So, Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Okay, moved by Counselor Wardrop that Amanda Goodenough be appointed the Safe Communities Committee for the first three-year term commencing February 23rd, 2022 and ending February 22nd, 2025. And it's Amy.
Through the chair to mayor and council, recent changes to the Safe Communities Committee bylaw increased members at large on the committee to 10. The committee reviewed an application in December and would like to recommend the following community member be appointed as a member at large. Amanda Goodenough is the executive director of SPEC and is a registered social worker with a background in criminology. Amanda has lived within Brooks since 2007 and has worked with many service providers and community members in Brooks and has a strong knowledge of various community agencies. Therefore, administration is recommending that Amanda Goodenough be appointed to the Safe Communities Committee for the term noted in the motion.
Okay, any questions? Okay, to the motion there, I'm gonna watch how one person votes on this here. Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councilor Goodenough that the COVID-19 updates and initiatives be accepted as information.
Through the chair to mayor and council, and I will try to keep this under the 2-minute warning that I got from Mayor Petrie. I'd like to give you some updates as it relates to COVID-19. Unfortunately, when I looked at the dashboard this afternoon right before our meeting, they still have data on there from February the 17th. So if that has updated since after 4:30, I apologize for the old information. However, on that dashboard, it did show that at that time we had 62 active cases, and unfortunately the number of deaths have increased to 30 within our community. And again, we do continue to send our deepest condolences to those friends and family who have lost their loved one. As of, again, February the 17th, there are 1,494 people that were in hospital, and 116 of those, there were 116 of those individuals in ICU in the province. 90% of the 12 and up population in the province have received at least their first dose of vaccination, with 86.4 receiving 2 doses. For the County of Newell and Special Area 2, which includes Brooks, the percentage of our population with 1 dose for all ages is 70.7%. For the percentage of population with 2 doses, all ages is 66.1%, and the percentage of population with 3 doses for all ages is 23.2%. Alberta began a careful and prudent plan to phase out public health measures starting February the 8th. The 3-step approach will begin with low-risk activities while maintaining protections for the healthcare system, including continuing care facilities. Beginning February 8th at 11:59 p.m., Alberta moved to step 1, which included the removal of the restrictions exemption program and the vaccination passport program, and capacity limits on venues under 500 capacity, including libraries and places of worship, and allows for food and beverage consumption in seating audience settings for large venues and entertainment venues. Mandatory masking for children and youth in schools and for youth aged 12 and under in any setting ended February 13th at 11:59 p.m. Subsequent steps will see changes to working from home, masking requirements, large venue capacity limits, and indoor social gathering limits, with a final step removing isolation requirements and COVID-specific measures in continuing care settings. And the lifting of these restrictions will progress once pressures on the healthcare system have sufficiently eased. Just a friendly reminder that all eligible Albertans are encouraged to get immunized with the dose they're eligible for as soon as possible to protect themselves, their families, and their communities. You can book online with Alberta Health Services or participating pharmacies by using the Alberta Vaccination Booking System. You can also call 811 or participating pharmacies as well. Just a little further update as relates to our city facilities and programs. The city's recreation facilities are continuing to operate within those provincial restrictions and guidelines in place as follows. So for the CRA, as of February 8th, 50% capacity, no restrictions on food and beverage in audience settings or in the lobby. Tables in the lobby returned to normal setup, vending machines operational during Bandits games. Concession operates normally, table service is not required, masks required for spectators' general facility use unless engaged in physical activity. And as of February 13th, children aged 12 no longer required to wear masks. Those over the age of 12, masks are required unless engaged in physical activity. For the JBS Canada Center, as of February 8th, the REP, or the Restrictions Exemption Program, no longer in place for any adult group fitness sports activities, classes, or competitions. This includes aqua fitness classes, privately offered fitness classes, adult leagues, adult drop-in sports. Participants are required to screen for symptoms. Capacities, Flex Hall is at 500. The Sparrow Arena spectator seating, 333. Field House, 568. Masks required for spectators, general facility use unless engaged in physical activity. Restrictions on food services consumption in facility removed. Seating replaced in the facility lobby. Wrap was removed from lobby tables. Food services are operating normally. And as of February 13th, children aged 12 no longer required masks. Those over 12, masks required unless engaged in physical activity. Until step 2, social gatherings such as birthday party bookings remain under the following restrictions. Indoor private social gatherings are limited to a maximum of 10 people, 18 and older. There are no limits on people aged 17 and under if accompanied by a parent or a guardian. If attending the gathering by themselves, they will count towards the maximum limit of 10 people. Otherwise, for further information or clarification, you can certainly visit the province's website or the city's Facebook page or website. And this concludes the COVID-19 report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? I think the next indicator is on Saturday. I think Premier Kenney's going to bring out an announcement, and I think a lot of the restrictions, or hopefully the restrictions, will come off on March 1st. And then again, our communications team will send out the message there about our recreational facilities and what happens with that on that. So we're hoping for the best there too. It's interesting with the data, because I in the last month and a half, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, whatever, there's been a lot of people that have COVID that have never been counted. So I think some of the data is irrelevant now. I think the data we have to look at is ICUs. And from my last report, and we don't have any ICUs in Brooks because they're taking the Medicine Hat. I think there was 2 in the Medicine Hat Regional Hospital, which is pretty low there too. So I think, we're getting into year 3 of this here, and I think we all want to move on with life. So hopefully it's really good news on Saturday from Premier Kenney on that one. So, okay, to the motion. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, moved by Councilor Jessica that the following items be tabled to future regular council or council committee meetings: the RCMP report for January 2022 and the delegation for the downtown event with the Brooks Hotel presentation. Any questions on that? Okay, to the motion, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, to the media, Sandra.
Good afternoon. Mr. Mayor, I am wondering if the letter has been sent to the Premier and Minister of Justice and Solicitor General regarding policing?
Amanda.
I'll have to find out and get back with you.
Thank you.
You know what? I know I signed off on it, and it was signed off on here in the office here. So, yeah, Jenny, it's been sent then. Yeah, it's been sent. I remember signing off, reading it and signing off on it, yeah.
So I guess you haven't got a response back yet.
That would be really quick there. Yeah, any other questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, moved by Councilor Prentice that the meeting adjourn at 5:39. All those in favor?